Have you ever opened your refrigerator, taken out last night's leftovers, placed them in the microwave, and thought to yourself, food is food. Reheating it should be perfectly fine, right? For many seniors, reheating leftovers has become a normal part of everyday life. It saves time, reduces waste, and feels convenient, especially when cooking for one or two people. But what if I told you that some foods change in ways most people never realize once they've been cooled and reheated again? Over the years, many older patients have shared a similar story. They experience stomach discomfort, bloating, unusual fatigue after meals, or sometimes mild food poisoning symptoms. They blame aging, medications, or a sensitive stomach. Yet in many cases, the real cause is something much simpler: the way certain foods are stored and reheated. You see, not every food is meant to be reheated. Some foods develop harmful bacteria if they sit too long before being reheated. Others go through chemical changes that can irritate the digestive system or reduce the nutrients your body actually needs, especially after the age of 60 when digestion naturally slows down. And this is where things get interesting. While some foods should never be reheated, there are also foods that actually become healthier when they are cooled and reheated properly. Yes, surprisingly, a few everyday foods form special compounds after cooling that may help with blood sugar control, gut health, and even heart health, three things that become more important with age. Unfortunately, most people are never taught this. Doctors rarely explain it, food labels don't mention it, and many seniors continue reheating the same foods in the same way simply because that's how they've always done it. It's not about doing something wrong, it's simply about not having the information. And I completely understand why leftovers are so common. Cooking every meal from scratch isn't always practical, and no one likes wasting food. Reheating something in the microwave for a few minutes feels harmless, and most of the time it is. But knowing which foods are safe to reheat, and which ones your body would be better off eating fresh, can make a real difference in how you feel. In today's video, we're going to uncover 6 very common foods many seniors eat every week. 3 of them should never be reheated because of the risks they can create. But the other 3 might actually benefit your body when reheated the right way, helping support digestion, stable energy, and overall health. And stay with me until the end, because one of the foods that should never be reheated is something millions of seniors keep in their refrigerator almost every week without realizing the hidden danger. Let's start by understanding why reheating certain foods can become a problem, especially as we get older. When food cools down after cooking, it enters what food safety experts call the temperature danger zone. This is the range where bacteria can grow very quickly if the food is left out too long or stored improperly. When that food is later reheated, many people assume the heat will kill everything. But the reality is a little more complicated. Some bacteria leave behind toxins that reheating cannot destroy, and these toxins can irritate the stomach and digestive system. One of the most common examples is rice. Rice might seem harmless, but when cooked rice is left at room temperature for too long, it can develop bacteria known as Bacillus cereus *. This bacteria can produce toxins that survive reheating. Many cases of mild food poisoning actually come from reheated rice that was not stored correctly. Seniors can be more sensitive to these toxins, leading to nausea, stomach cramps, or digestive upset that appears hours after the meal. Another surprising food on this list is chicken. Reheated chicken is very common in leftovers, but chicken contains delicate proteins that can change structure when cooled and reheated multiple times. When reheated unevenly, which often happens in microwaves, parts of the chicken may remain in that dangerous temperature zone long enough for bacteria to grow. For seniors whose immune systems are not as strong as they once were, this increases the risk of digestive illness. Spinach is another food many people believe is always healthy, and in its fresh form, it absolutely is. But spinach contains natural compounds called nitrates. When spinach is reheated repeatedly, those nitrates can convert into substances that may irritate the digestive system and place stress on the body. While this may not affect everyone immediately, older adults tend to be more sensitive to these changes. But here is where things become even more interesting. While some foods become less safe or less healthy after reheating, others actually improve in ways scientists only began understanding in recent years. Certain foods, when cooled after cooking, undergo a change that forms what is called resistant starch. This special type of starch behaves more like fiber in the body and can support gut health and stabilize blood sugar. Take potatoes, for example. When potatoes are cooked and then cooled, some of their starch transforms into resistant starch. When reheated gently, much of this beneficial structure remains. That means a reheated potato can sometimes cause a smaller spike in blood sugar compared to one eaten immediately after cooking. For seniors managing blood sugar levels, that small difference can be very helpful. Another example is cooked pasta. Just like potatoes, pasta develops resistant starch after cooling. When reheated properly, it can be easier on blood sugar levels and may even support beneficial gut bacteria. This doesn't mean pasta suddenly becomes a health food, of course, but it shows how cooling and reheating can sometimes work in your body's favor. So you can see that reheating food isn't simply good or bad. It depends entirely on the type of food, how it was stored, and how it is reheated. Understanding these small details can help you avoid unnecessary health risks while still enjoying the convenience of leftovers. And in the next part, we're going to go deeper into the practical side of this. I'll show you the exact 3 foods seniors should avoid reheating altogether. The 3 foods that actually benefit from reheating, and the simple kitchen habits that can keep your meals both safe and healthy. By now you may be realizing that the way we handle leftovers can quietly influence our health more than we think. The good news is that protecting yourself doesn't require complicated diets or expensive ingredients. Most of the time, it simply comes down to understanding which foods should be eaten fresh and which ones can safely go back into the pan or microwave. Let's start with the foods seniors should avoid reheating whenever possible. The first one is rice. Rice itself is not dangerous when freshly cooked, but the problem begins when it sits out too long before being stored. Tiny bacteria spores that naturally exist in rice can survive the cooking process. If cooked rice stays at room temperature for more than an hour or 2, those spores can multiply and produce toxins. Reheating may warm the rice, but it doesn't remove those toxins. The safest approach is simple. If rice has been sitting out too long, it's better to discard it rather than risk upsetting your stomach. The second food is chicken, especially when it has already been reheated once before. Chicken proteins change structure when cooled and reheated repeatedly, which can make the meat harder to digest. But the bigger concern is uneven reheating. Microwaves often heat the outside faster than the inside, leaving cooler pockets where bacteria can survive. For seniors, whose digestive systems and immune defenses may be more sensitive, eating improperly reheated chicken can sometimes lead to nausea, bloating, or stomach discomfort later in the day. The third food is leafy greens like spinach. Spinach is packed with nutrients when eaten fresh, but when it is reheated multiple times, natural nitrates inside the leaves can convert into compounds that are harder for the body to process. This doesn't mean spinach is unhealthy, far from it. It simply means it's best enjoyed freshly cooked rather than repeatedly reheated from leftovers. Now let's look at the foods that can actually benefit from cooling and reheating. One of the most surprising examples is potatoes. When potatoes are cooked and then allowed to cool in the refrigerator, some of their starch changes into something called resistant starch. This type of starch behaves more like fiber in the body. It moves more slowly through the digestive system and helps feed beneficial gut bacteria. When those cooled potatoes are reheated gently, much of that resistant starch remains. Cooked pasta behaves in a similar way. After cooling in the refrigerator, the starch structure changes and becomes easier on blood sugar levels. For seniors trying to keep energy stable throughout the day, this small shift can help prevent the sharp spikes and crashes that sometimes follow carbohydrate-heavy meals. Even oatmeal can benefit from this process. When oatmeal is cooked, cooled, and then reheated the next day, it develops more resistant starch as well. Many seniors find that reheated oatmeal feels more satisfying and keeps them full longer compared to freshly cooked oatmeal alone. There are also a few simple habits that can make reheating much safer. Always store leftovers in the refrigerator within about an hour after cooking. Use shallow containers so food cools faster. When reheating, make sure the food becomes hot all the way through, not just warm on the surface. And most importantly, try to avoid reheating the same meal multiple times. Another common mistake people make is reheating large portions again and again. Instead, it's much safer to divide leftovers into smaller portions before refrigerating them. That way you only reheat what you plan to eat, leaving the rest safely stored. These small adjustments might seem simple, but they can make a real difference in digestion, energy levels, and overall health, especially after the age of 60, when the body becomes more sensitive to food safety issues. And in the final part, we'll bring everything together with a few powerful reminders that can help you protect your health, avoid hidden food risks, and continue enjoying your meals with confidence for many years to come. If there is one thing I hope you take away from today's conversation, it's this. Good health in later life is often shaped by the smallest daily habits. Not just the big decisions, not just medications or doctor visits, but the quiet routines that happen in your own kitchen every single day. Reheating leftovers might seem like a tiny detail. But as we've seen, certain foods change in ways many people never realize. Rice that sits too long before refrigeration can allow bacteria to produce toxins. Chicken that's reheated unevenly can become harder to digest and sometimes unsafe. Leafy greens like spinach can lose their natural balance when reheated again and again. These are small things, but over time they can quietly affect how your body feels. At the same time, nature has its own interesting surprises. Foods like potatoes, pasta, and even oatmeal can actually become a little more beneficial after cooling and reheating. The formation of resistant starch can support gut health and help keep blood sugar levels more stable. For many seniors, that means steadier energy throughout the day and fewer sudden hunger swings. And this is an important reminder that healthy eating isn't about perfection. It's about understanding how food works with your body and making simple adjustments that support you as you age. Something as small as storing leftovers quickly, reheating food thoroughly, or choosing to eat certain foods fresh instead of reheated can make meals both safer and more nourishing. I've met many older adults who believe that feeling sluggish, bloated, or uncomfortable after meals is simply part of getting older. But very often, when they make small changes in how they handle their food, those symptoms improve. Their digestion feels lighter, their energy becomes steadier, and meals become enjoyable again, rather than something the body struggles to process. So the next time you open your refrigerator and look at last night's leftovers, pause for just a moment. Think about which foods are better enjoyed fresh, and which ones can safely be reheated to your advantage. That small awareness can protect your health far more than most people realize. Your body has carried you through decades of life, memories, and experiences. It deserves the kind of care that keeps it strong, comfortable, and energized for the years ahead. And sometimes that care begins with the simplest decision. Even something as small as how we reheat our dinner. If you found this information helpful, take a moment to support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. It helps us continue sharing simple, practical health knowledge designed especially for seniors. And if you've ever had a bad experience with reheated food, or you have a habit in your kitchen that works well for you, share it in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else stay healthier too. Until next time, take care of yourself. And take care of the small habits that take care of you.